we're going to talk about this. That's the oath that we took. That's what the Navy and the Marines give us. And I think the Army is sort of the same. It's not the oath of office, it's the oath of enlistment. I don't know if it says that here. I got this out of my documents and it was all tattered. So I got it off the internet, which was easier. Okay? And they removed this from the schools, the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay? We have the most unconstitutional, unorthodox criminal president in American history right now. Okay? Those are all allegiances to obey our laws, which our laws, the law enforcement, years ago, I drove hot rods, and I always tell the story. I got tickets for going through fantasy stop signs and convicted of it. And even though I took a picture of the street corner and there was no stop sign, you're still guilty. Boom. Okay? Because you're a kid, 18 years old with a hot rod. And I really emancipated myself from my parents. I kind of raised myself, and I got a girl pregnant at an early age, and that's why I had to go in the Marine Corps. So I want to show you guys that this HM80 runs, and I'm sorry I was incoherent this morning. Yeah, getting woke out of your bed, okay? It's something that you don't really want to happen to you, okay? So this is what I look like in the daytime instead of in my PJs making a video at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning because somebody scared the shit out of me. But Dennis, or Chip, whatever you want to call him, McCullum, he pushed the panic button. And he said, Dutch, something's coming down. So why maybe they're in Prague? I guess Brussels is a meeting spot. Prague's another one. Helsinki's another one. Prague usually involves the UN, the United Nations type of thing. And what my thinking is now that I have my thinking cap on and I've got a couple hours to think about it while I was in my office for a little bit. Listen, maybe the military is going to remove Biden. Let's hope that's the case, okay? If they're meeting or whatever, and just like Dennis said, he says, Dutch, he says, we're not flying. He said, a lot of people don't know what a black squadron is. Like I said, it's not black people. These are all black aircraft. It's I know I need a haircut. It's a plausible deniability thing. Before other countries had satellites, like why is North Korea and all these other countries interested in getting satellites? Well, see, these mystery aircraft come in from the United States and they destroy something. Just like that big explosion, I think that happened, what was it, Lebanon or whatever. Somebody gave a party favor there that blew the hell out of everything. And, you know, a couple people were saying they did see a missile. Because if you're going to hit, say, an ammo dump, you know, and you have one of those piston missiles. I call them a piston. They're like a sabot. They got a tungsten steel point, and they've got a high intensity explosive, kind of like they did the Twin Towers with that thermite. It's a very high. It dissipates. It doesn't have to be all that big. It's not a big missile. It's not as big as your house. It's not even as big as what they have underneath the wing of an aircraft. It's about half the size. Okay, maybe a little bigger and longer than this thing. Okay, and it's tungsten steel core with a thermite charge, and it goes off like a house on fire. Okay, so for all of you people, what I'm thinking is Biden has been the most he's been the most aggressive idiot that has ever set foot in there. He's on some sort of agenda of his own. To circumvent Congress, enacting wars and other types of things like that in other countries without consenting with Congress, without the consent of Congress, without explaining the objectives and the goals to the American people. This is a criminal act. And I think that's why they're taking that education and those oaths away from people. Okay? I took an oath to defend my fucking country from all enemies, foreign and domestic. And Joe Biden, you are a domestic enemy of my country. You are a domestic enemy of me, my children, and everybody I know, especially those ones out on that Amish farm that work their asses off from sun up to sundown like I do, for very little money, sometimes no money at all. But Joe Biden doesn't know that. All he knows is fucking greed. I'm going to fire that HM. This is an HM80. Okay, this is a single shaft. This is not like a snowblower engine. Right here, you would have that extra drive. Okay, we're going to see if this thing it should purr. It worked with this carburetor. I know it was low on fuel, so I added some gas to it just a couple minutes ago. That's got to go back outside. I don't keep gas in here. And if you look at this 40-year-old metal, how it cleaned up, there's barely any rusting, barely any. And this thing was buried in frozen ice year after year. As I said, but if you look at that machine, there's hardly any rust to the steel. And the rust that is there, I'm gonna treat it. So I wanted to show you folks that I mounted the electric start my way. I got to kind of neaten this up. It is a little crooked. Do you know what? I don't give a shit. Okay? I don't know. I'm going to try to level this camera. I'm not the best with this goddamn tripod. All right? I'm going to level the camera on this engine. I have an air cleaner coming forward. I need a gas cap. I want to get a new muffler. It's all a matter of money. I've got other bills to pay to other people. You know, I give all my money away and I get nothing to have for me. Let's see if we can get this puppy fired up. I gotta hold on to this thing. It shakes, rattles, and rolls. Now you can tell my nerves are up. I'm going to light that up. There's a blue wire hanging off there. I am going to make a kill switch. One thing I learned from my grandfather about these Tecumseh engines, if say you get in contact with another go-kart, or say that a stick, since it's for a wood chipper, and I don't know if that starter is going to push that big goddamn auger that's on that thing. But one thing I know about those governors, if you get something in there and it gets stuck and that governor starts, the engine starts going wide open, you need a secondary kill switch, because the other one's not going to do it. So that has a pivotal point for it, and I'm going to ground it to the chassis and back to the switch. So those engines can continue on running even though you have that ground switch off. Put a secondary ground on it. Trust me on that, because like I said, and it wasn't it was kind of a collision with another go-kart, but I picked up a piece. It was a stick. You know, we were racing on dirt. Basically, it was a kind of an amusement, like a miniature, a tiny amusement park. It was called Indian Trail Park. It's in Northampton, down by where my parents are. And there was another one out in Reading, another track he used to take me to. You had to have been 10 years old to race. He's taking when I started racing, I was either 6 or 7. And he lied, and he was telling the people that I was 10 years old. And believe me, as far as even a Marine, I was the scrawniest little bastard, but my grandfather just to let me race, and I was always not to tell my grandparents or my father, because we used to load this goddamn go-kart. Him and I and the neighbor used to get the neighbor, what the hell was his name? Henny Herman. He had an old guy come over with a fucking cane, and they'd put this go-kart in the back of this old Ford wagon that he had. And then later he had a Plymouth, and then he had another Ford. But anyway, when he had the Plymouth wagon, those were the fun years. I used to bang the damn thing up, and I ought to eat you. We were at the dinner table, and it was humor with him. But when he was serious, he had a whole different tone of voice. Hey, you ran past the other kids, and you did pretty good, but then the other kid got mad, and a couple times I whacked things. Tecumseh's, nothing beats those engines, especially for snot. I'm going to teach you how to adjust the governors on those, by the way, because they're very easy, unlike Briggs, where you got to undo the pivot and all that other shit. This thing, you don't have to do that. You just have to adjust that arm, and it'll open the governor wider, and it'll close it. so you can go fast or slow. Um, and then the other thing is my brand new Chinese, brand new. It's only a year old. I know what you're gonna say. I have my tachometer. I wanted to get it out and exhibit it. It's out in a shit can. So you have to set those with a tach, and really there aren't many specs posted on those engines. And whether your tach is as accurate as it should be is another issue. All right. So I'm sorry, like I said, I started out with kind of a rambling to try to make sense, and then we'll talk about what mercenary private pilots are, how they get their tails trapped in a war, especially if you get a criminal offense lodged against you. Good luck to you. Let me tell you, the day and age that we're living in with this criminality in this government, okay, it's no such thing. Years ago, I'm going to tell you something about like the pilots of the escadrille. Those were either volunteers that came from America to get paid. Okay? You didn't even have a contract. You had a monthly salary, and that is what you got from the French government when you enlisted. You were basically a contract worker without a contract. Then later on, like my hero is Greg Boyington, and I was a lot like a Greg Boyington. I really was. I could throw down when I had to throw down. I didn't take any bullshit. I was, I can't say I'm introverted because I make videos and stuff like that. A lot of times if I have something to say to you, I say it to you, and especially if I don't appreciate you. And that's kind of how Greg Boyington was. You either got along with him and you were either going to fly with him, especially when you were a bunch of meatheads, okay? He did separate his squadron. There were two groups. The group he got along with, those guys flew with him. Then there was a tertiary group that was in the background. They never really give accurate information, and a lot of it is lost. Just like I was telling you, there was a French mercenary pilot. Okay, there were multiple wars between World War I and even Korea era. And the other guy I was trying to mention, the French pilot, he was French Italian actually. Mortimer Mortimer Gustoni. His name was Mortimer Gustoni, and there was another one out of France. I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but my grandfather used to talk with these fabulous stories of, how they, a lot of times they didn't win. The French pretty much got their ass shot off by the Germans. They had Spandau machine guns. They had superior firepower. The planes had a lot of speed, and they had a lot of tactical. That the Americans, it was people like my grandfather that came up with that tactical, how to come out of the sun or how to stay out of view. They're expecting us to come from the east, so we're going to go west. And so they went way out of their way. They started rigging up extra fuel cans. They were actually cutting the sides out of their aircraft. Now, how you do that on a basically a wood frame aircraft is pretty easy. You can cut the side out of it, and you can actually fit a jug. You could take jugs. They had glass jugs. They had actually 5-gallon metal pails and stuff. They drilled holes in them, put fittings in them, and guess what? You had another gas tank. So you could go 50, 100 miles out of your way where the Germans didn't even expect you to be, and you could attack the Germans. So we started learning tactics from what the Germans were doing. Well, how were the Germans doing this? And their aircraft did not look altered up until some of them got shot down, and then our then intelligence would go look at the aircraft and discover, oh, well, it had a door in the side, it had an extra goddamn fuel tank, and oh, it actually had bombs rigged up to the bottom of it. Yeah, the Germans were pretty crafty. They were not stupid people. So anyway, for an Amish farm boy, my grandfather, he shared a lot of stories of things just like I can, because when you talk to these Google nuggets and people that served a year or two in the Army or the Marine Corps, they're a know-it-all. My dad's kind of, he's one of those guys, he thinks the old Marine Corps is still the Marine Corps, and it's not. And I really got pissed off at him a couple times. It's like, Dad, I'm a pilot. Okay, I wasn't a fucking field grunt. Yeah, I shot high power. I'm an avid trap shooter. I mean, you can't keep you'd have to drag me in my younger day. You'd have to hit me on the head with a hammer and drag me off the skeet out of the ski clubs, because that was where it was one of the things I just loved to do most. But let's hope I made that we took an oath, the military people. And Joe Biden, you are a piece of fucking trash, is all I have to say. I hate to even like talk like that in a video, to call the man, but he's worse than Arkansas trailer park trash. He really is. When they talk about trailer park trash, Joe Biden, you are it. You're the epitome. Okay? You and your cokehead wife and your crackhead kid, your plastic nose and your beady little eyes, you are a piece of garbage. Oh, by the way, catch my Christmas video album.